Hello and welcome to the Ataraxia Insurance Broker Podcast.
Here's the interview with Graham Webster of ABA Insurance Services in Bolton. Hi Graham, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Helen. Yeah, you okay?
Very well, thank you. I would like to introduce Graham as the Managing Director of ABA Insurance Services based in Bolton. I'm going to be talking to Graham today about joining Ataraxia and in general about the challenges facing the business. And I think if we start at the very beginning, Graham, can you tell me when you set up ABA Insurance Services, please?
ABA Insurance was set up in 1993. I'd had a business previously, and which I sold out and managed 3 years with a PLC, and then decided I needed to set up again on my own, which I did in 1993, and a small business based in Stockport, because I was at that time barred out from trading within 12 miles of Bolton.
Oh, of course.
So as soon as I had the opportunity to move back, we moved back to Bolton in about 1995. And the business grew from there. It was very small to start with, and we just grew it and grew it and grew it. And it was slow but careful development. And we got to a point really where we were struggling to find a way forward. And we looked at various networks at the time. This would be about, 2000 perhaps, when we started looking at that, albeit that it was a lot later that we actually found Ataraxia and got partnered with them.
And how would you describe the sort of business that you transact at ABA?
We've always been basically commercially orientated. We always do small to medium-sized businesses. We have the skills to do that. We perhaps are an old-fashioned broker. We like to provide very much a hands-on service to clients. We very much feel that our role is almost as the insurance director for our client companies, and we deal with it in that way. Perhaps we overservice, and therefore makes it more difficult to generate a very decent bottom line. So that's something that perhaps if I did it again, I would be more careful about.
Okay, and how would you describe the ethics and the culture of your business, Graham?
Very much client orientated, client service. We like to provide a first-class service. We like to be very much, as I mentioned before, almost a board member of the clients. We like to know their business, because by knowing their business, we can actually give them proper advice on their insurance requirements and arrangements.
Yeah, and obviously in that staff are key. How many staff have you got, Graham?
Well, the staff grew. I think at the peak we had 7. It's dropped down recently. At the moment, there's 5 of us at the moment. So we've never been a big company. As I say, it's very much our staff know the clients as well as the directors do.
Yeah, and how important are your staff in that culture in the business?
Oh, very important. I mean, they have the relationship with the clients just as much as we do.
And if we can sort of move forward you started discussions with Ataraxia around about 2014, Graham, when you came on board.
That's right.
Can you describe your process in coming to us, where your thoughts were at, and what was your motivation, please?
I think at the time that we started talking to Ataraxia, we'd been looking for a network for quite some time. I'd realised that the insurance market was changing a bit and that we needed some support with agencies and so on. And therefore, I think we looked at various opportunities. And then I can't remember actually how we were introduced to Ataraxia or how we came across them. But we talked to Adam, I think, in those days, and it was I think our first reaction was that the offer was almost too good to be true.
That's good to hear.
And it took us a while, really. I mean, it was quite a little bit, it was a worry for us, really, that it may be too good to be true. So it took us about a year, I think, before we actually signed on the dotted line.
No, that is reassuring to hear. So would I be right in describing that the main motivation at that point in 2014 was actually a sort of buying power and network capabilities, and it was about finding homes for your business?
It was really. It was becoming more and more difficult to get support from the insurance market. The bigger companies were looking for a reasonable sized account, and therefore it was difficult as a small broker to be able to do that on your own. And I think that was the background to us joining Ataraxia.
And you hadn't been in a network before, so there was no network that you were leaving.
We did leave a network. Yeah, we had been with Cobra network for a number of years, and that worked okay for us, but it wasn't quite as hands-on as Ataraxia was, and we decided to move over to Ataraxia.
Yeah.
And I think that we found there was quite a bit of political problems with Cobra at the time, and it subsequently there was a dispute between two of the senior board members, and the company split up shortly after we left.
Yeah. And so did you have concerns about leaving the Cobra network into Ataraxia? You said it took a year to sign, so there were some doubts to overcome?
There were some doubts, yes. As I say, it was some of the things that were promised, and as I say, we were a little unsure about it, but then we went with our gut reaction and decided that we go with Ataraxia, and as I say, it worked out very well for us.
Oh, thank you. And if okay, I'd like to sort of look into what that process looked like for you. So when you joined in 2014, obviously we had an onboarding exercise, which is to welcome you into the Ataraxia insurer markets and agencies. And I'd like you to talk about how that process was. Was it smooth, or were there any obstacles? If you could just describe how it went for you, Graham.
I think that probably it was quite smooth for us, because I think one of the issues that I did find in talking to other brokers at the Ataraxia meetings is that a lot of them found it quite difficult to come to terms with the fact that they would have to support fewer insurers and support the agencies that were part of the Ataraxia panel. We weren't so concerned about that, because we'd already been through that scenario with the Cobra network. And, I just think that some brokers find that a difficult transition to make, to have to restrict the number of insurers that they deal with. But I don't really think that there's any other way of doing it in this current insurance market climate.
Yeah, no, that's fair comment. And so when you joined Ataraxia from leaving Cobra, were the markets that were our preferred markets, were they different from your previous ones?
There were similar ones. I think Allianz and AXA were with both organisations. I think the one that we found we support was Ageas. We found Ageas very helpful, and have still got quite a large account with Ageas, and that we got that agency. So there's, as a result of us being part of the Ataraxia broker team.
Okay. And when you actually came to move to our markets, the actual change in agencies and setup, was that smooth, seamless, or was there a transition time?
No, I don't think there was a transition time. It was fairly smooth. There was obviously you can still deal with agencies outside the panel, but of course the incentive was more to deal with the panel, because that resulted in a financial benefit.
Exactly, which is all part of it.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely. And the placement with the key markets, actually transacting business with our insurer panel. How has that process been? I mean, Graham, you've been doing it for 6+ years, so describe it over the years.
I think the insurers seem to have, some are very good, and they all seem to change over a period of time. I think we built up a substantial account with Allianz quite quickly, and then they changed their underwriting approach, and that account has diminished. Ageas is one that we seem to have managed to find consistent, although they're changing a little bit at the moment. AXA, obviously, were a panel member, but aren't anymore. So, yeah, I mean, it's just having insurers to go to. It's not a problem really to move insurers to a new panel. So I don't see that as a big issue really.
Okay, that's good to hear. And can you describe the appetite of our partner insurers? That's always an issue with brokers, appetite. And how would you describe it?
Well, I think one of the perhaps criticisms over the years has been that there hasn't been a high risk market that's one of the panel insurers. Obviously, you use CityNet as a Lloyd's placing broker, where you can place some of the higher risk stuff. But there's not a real high risk market in there. People like Allianz were quite conservative, as indeed were AXA.
Yeah.
So we still ended up having a lot of agencies that fall outside the panel.
Yeah, for the trickier to place risks then. Yes,
I mean, I think that's right. I think a lot of brokers have the more tricky risks to place, the slightly higher risk that doesn't fit into the conventional electronic insurance company type of product.
And are there any sort of noticeable gaps in the panel? Or I mean, you've mentioned the high risk. Is there anything else that you would say?
I just think it's always needed an underwriting agency that was more flexible than the conventional markets, and I still don't think one's quite been found that fits into that category. But we live in hope.
It's always ongoing.
I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned, Helen, is the fact that Ataraxia supported us in the acquisition of Edgerton Newton.
Yes. Would you want to describe what that process looked like for you?
Yes, I mean, that worked quite well, really. We were quite anxious to try and expand by acquisition, and there was this opportunity to buy the company Edgerton Newton, who were based in Wilmslow.
Yes.
Or it was Sale, wasn't it, actually? And that went okay. I mean, the deal was put together and it worked very well for us. And, we sort of paid for that through a means of the commission earn-out that you offered. And therefore, it was fairly painless in terms of cash flow. Yeah. But it did put a reasonable amount of business onto our account or into our account, and that was really helpful. And it's been a foundation for us taking the next step forward.
Yes, of course. And again, it's the Ataraxia additional enhanced commission levels that enabled that book of business to be cost effective, to be brought into, as you say, at no great painful cost.
That's right. Yes, I mean that was the way it worked. I mean the Ataraxia sort of enhanced commissions. They sort of initially helped the shareholders of ABA to release some equity, which was useful.
No, that's good. And that was going to be my next question, actually, Graham, is that we've talked about the placement in the markets and how effective that is, but of course, it's about income generation. To realise what you wanted to do, which initially was to buy the other director out and release some capital. And I suppose the question is, have we been on the money? Yes,
I mean, everything that was put down in when we started talking, was actually achieved, and it went actually further than that, and we ended up with more cash in the business than we expected. So yes, it worked very well.
Yeah, well, it's key. When you're entering into a financial deal, the income is generated by placement. It's key that aspect works. So it's good to hear that it's worked for you, Graham. And I would like now to talk about the final part of your journey with Ataraxia. And so before we talk about the process and what's happened, can you describe to me how you came to us with your succession challenges and what they were?
Well, I think the objectives were that certainly I was getting to an age where really I couldn't really expect to continue that much longer. I think you come to a point where not only are we as the owners of the business looking for succession, but our clients are also looking for succession. They want to see that there's somebody there that's capable of taking the business forward. Should anything happen to the existing directors. So as you get older, it is important from various aspects that there is a succession strategy in place. So I think it was all of those things that brought us to the conclusion that we needed to actually look at a way of extracting ourselves from the business and bringing somebody else in who was a bit younger to carry the business on.
And can you tell me what your key considerations were in finding that perfect solution?
Well, we needed to find somebody that had a similar outlook to ourselves and a similar client focus to ourselves, because it was important that going forward, the clients felt comfortable with the people who are going to be our successors, and therefore we'd to feel comfortable with them in the first place. So that was part of the strategy, to make sure that whoever we got involved in did fit that bill.
Absolutely. And I suppose, Graham, your clients become your friends over the years, and you need to have the confidence of looking them in the eyes and leaving them in good hands.
Yes, I mean, I think that's very true. I mean, the last thing that Lynn and I want is to leave the business and then find we're getting phone calls because people aren't happy with what's happened. So it is important that this particular step, or the step we've just taken, is carefully considered, and you think through the people that are going to carry it on. Absolutely.
And can you tell me how important staff when you were considering your succession solutions?
Right. Yes. I mean, that was critical for us that the staff should have continuity of employment, and so yes, that was an essential part of the deal going forward.
And other considerations such as geography, did they factor in your decision making?
Well, to a degree, it helped that the deal we eventually did was with a firm of brokers who were perhaps 15 miles away.
Yeah.
So that it was, they are local to us. I mean, we in the north are very parochial, and therefore people like to feel that they're dealing with people in the same area. So I think that was not critical, but certainly it is. It has worked out very well that has happened.
And Graham, you described that you service your clients very closely. And so are they geographically close? Are we talking visits?
Yeah, we do a lot of visits, maybe too many, but we do have clients, biggish clients in London, all over the country. We're Nottingham. So, yeah, but quite a lot of the clients are local, and we do carry out visits. As I say, we're old-fashioned brokers, and we like to see what we're insuring, and therefore by walking around the factory, you can make sure you cover what's there rather than what you think's there.
Mm-hmm. And so obviously we know what the succession solution looks like, but when we first started our discussions, it was quite clear that it's quite a niche, tailor-made, local solution that you needed to be truly happy.
Yes, I mean, we certainly needed to be happy that the people that we were involved with would be able to carry the business forward in a similar manner to the way we'd run it over the years. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the key point there, Graham, is it in a similar manner. You know, there's no shortage of acquisitors, but it's not always in a similar manner, is it?
Well, no, that's very true. I mean, certainly some of the major buyers at the moment, I mean, they're looking to consolidate and cut costs, and rather than actually provide the level of service that is important in our view.
And Graham, as this interview goes out, there will be a press release on the deal that you have just recently completed on. Do you want to describe what that deal is?
Well, it was a total acquisition of ABA. Lynn and I, both the shareholders in ABA, decided that we wanted to sell out largely as a result of the fact that particularly me didn't want to reduce my shareholding to a position where I didn't have control of the business. Yeah. So, I didn't want to drop down to a 25% shareholding or whatever going forward. So that was pretty important for me to have somebody that would acquire the whole of the shareholding. And that was okay. It's a little bit difficult from a personal point of view, giving up your baby, but it's the only way forward when you get a little bit older.
And so, as we go to press and as we go into 2021 with your new deal, can you describe who's looking after your business and also what's happened with your staff in terms of the deal as well?
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the Jeff and Chris based in Atherton are. I mean, to be honest, this is a question that's almost impossible to answer at the moment because, of course, the COVID restrictions. There's no integrations at all of the businesses at the moment. I mean, the other party who's actually bought the business is based in Boreham Wood. So he's not able to actively get involved either. And so most of the communication at the moment is by email or telephone. But in terms of client introduction, that's just not feasible at the moment. But that is obviously something that we, as soon as we can, we will be taking them out to introduce them to clients.
Yeah, I suppose it is a little bit of a stuttering start with COVID restrictions, but the plan is to hand over your account exec and client-facing responsibilities to Jeff and Chris, and you chose them because they seem to have the right ethos and client care culture.
That's right. Yes, I mean there's a few guys over at Bradshaw Bennett that will be able to handle the clients. There's obviously Chris, who are the shareholders of Bradshaw Bennett, and will retain shareholding in ABA going forward. But there are other people there who can also do client-facing roles, and that's pretty important that we've got those guys who can step into our shoes. Because Lynn and I really are only sort of there for 12 months initially, but we'll wait and see how that develops. Yeah. And we're hoping that after 12 months, the clients will be comfortable with everything that's happened,
and you can gradually step away at a pace that is mutually agreeable.
That's right. Yes, I mean we are reducing the time that we work in the business. So both Lynn and I are dropping down the number of days we work, and that will see the other guys becoming more and more and more involved in it.
Yeah. So it's a gradual, soft handover at a pace that suits all. Is that a fair description, Graham?
Well, yes, it is. I think Lynn and I, are sort of going out of the business. We won't be directors, but just consultants, and therefore, we will be in the background if clients need to talk to us or whatever. And I think that's the way to to make sure that the business goes over easily.
And I know your staff were very key to you and protecting them as part of this deal. And how are the staff feeling? Are they all secure in the new joint company?
Yes, I think so. I think that that they will see bits of changes, but for the most part, no, they're quite happy with their job security going forward. So, and at least in many ways, it gives them more security insofar as they've got a younger team who are going to move the business forward. Well,
that's good to hear. And obviously, without going into too much detail, Ataraxia and our combined company with MVF were instrumental in constructing this deal and essentially matchmaking to find the right people to fit this sort of plan for you. And can I ask you, in terms of your own sale price and consideration, are you and role going forward, are you happy with the deal that you've got, Graham?
Oh yes, I mean the deal we got was very good.
And have you got the comfort of knowing that the values and the culture of your company will continue to live on past your retirement?
Difficult to say at the moment, to be fair, because as I say, we know Jeff and Chris socially.
Yeah.
But we've never worked together, and so that's something that we will sort of develop over the next few months, particularly once we can start going out and they can see how we deal with clients. And I think it's an education on both parts to see how they deal with clients, how we deal with them, and then finding a happy blend.
Oh, and so Graham, you're talking about scaling down, handing over the reins and well-earned retirement. What are your personal aspirations when you're able to do this?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel as though I want to become, sort of just going out for lunches and so on. I still want to have some interest and some work in interest. So I don't know quite what will happen, but certainly looking to try and occupy some of my time as in a different capacity, probably.
Watch this.
Insurance. I've had enough of insurance, so it would be a slightly different role, maybe connected to insurance, but I don't know.
And then finally, to conclude, Graham, if you were to give any words of wisdom to any broker thinking of talking to Ataraxia, what would your words of wisdom be?
I think certainly from our experience, there can be nothing lost in speaking to Ataraxia, because they do have a fairly unique package which will open many doors to many brokers. And I think that's really, all I can say, that you can only find out by talking to Ataraxia.
Thank you for your words of wisdom there. Much appreciated, Graham. Graham, I'd just like to thank you for your honesty in today's interview, and it's been a pleasure, as always, to speak to you, and best of luck with your retirement.
Thank you very much. Okay.